3-card draw poker by Score Gaming. The game is played with the players placing an ante bet and an optional first 3 bonus bet. They do not have to be equal. Players will be dealt 3 cards. Dealer will be dealt 4 cards. If you're using a shuffle machine, the shuffle machine would give 3 cards to each location, including the dealer. Once the dealer pushes the button and the stub comes out, the dealer gets the top card, which would be the 4th card. The dealer would then hold the remaining cards for players that want to draw. First player looks at their hand, and they have a they have a flush. They have the option of throwing away the 4 and drawing to the straight, or a possible straight flush. But in this case, the player would probably stay with the flush because it's an automatic winner. In order to stay, the player has to place their cards in the in-to-win draw box, and they place a bet equal to their ante bet to play their hand. The next player looks at their hand, and they have a pair of 9s with a 7. In this case, the player would stay with their pair of 9s, again backing it up with an equal amount to their ante bet, and discard a card down so they do not expose it to the other players. The dealer will take that card, put it in the discard rack, give the player 1 additional card. We will tuck the card under the first 3 bonus if the player made the bet. Otherwise, if the player did not, we would tuck it under their ante bet. The reason we tuck the card is because the player cannot look at that card. They cannot commingle the cards because they could create a first 3 bonus that they didn't have on their first 3 cards. The next player looks at their hand, and they have a queen, 7, and 8. This player has 2 options. They can keep the queen 8, which is the 2 highest cards, or they can draw to a straight, 7, 8, and hope they get either a 9 or a 6. This player is going to keep the queen 8, back up their bet with an amount equal to their ante bet, discard. The dealer will tuck their card. After all players have played their hand, the dealer will turn over their 4 cards and take the best 3-card combination. The dealer always qualifies. In this case, the dealer only has a 10, a 9, and a 6. No flush, no straight, so it is strictly a 10, 9, 6 hand. Now we go out. First, the dealer will look at the back bet to see if they qualified for their first 3 bonus. This player only had a queen 8, so they did not qualify. Now we see what the player picked up. They picked up a jack. They have a queen jack 8, which beats a 10, 9, 6. The player has paid even money on their back bet and their front bet. The dealer removes the cards. The next player on their back bet had a pair of 9s. So they already had a pair on their first 3 cards, so they win their first 3 bonus. A pair pays 1 to 1, and let's see if the player drew into anything. The player did draw into trips. So now the player wins even money on both back bet and front bet, and then a bonus for trips of 5 to 1 for their back bet. And they actually drew into that winning combination. They only had a pair of 9s to begin with. But because of the draw feature of this game, the player drew into trips. The first player kept their original 3 cards because they had a flush. A flush pays on their first 3 bonus, 3 to 1. So for their front bet, they get 3 to 1. A flush also beats 10, 9, 6, so they are paid even money on their back 2 bets. A flush does not pay a bonus, as you can see on the bonus pay table. The first 3 bonus has these pays, and the back bet has, whether you draw into it or whether you are dealt those cards originally, pays on a straight, trip, straight flush, or a mini royal, which is an ace, king, queen suited. Okay, let's deal another hand. Once again, players make an ante bet, an optional first three bonus of any amount. Dealer shuffles the cards. Every hand is a new hand. We deal with a standard deck of 52 cards, no jokers. Either use a shuffle machine or deal by hand. Players get 3 cards. Dealer gets 4 cards. First player looks at their hand. They have an 8-9 jack. This player decides to stay with the 8-9 and try to draw into the straight. Has to make an equal bet behind. Discards the jack. The dealer will give them 1 additional card. This player has a straight right away, a 3-4-5. They're going to stay with that, back up their bet with an equal amount to their ante. This player has a jack, a 9, and a deuce. They could try to keep the jack and a 9 and draw into a 10. I wouldn't advise that. Basic strategy would say no, they should discard this hand. Dealer will collect both of their bets because they did not have a first 3 bonus and they do not want to participate in this hand. The dealer will now expose their 4 cards. Again, always qualifies, and take my top 3 cards. In this case, I have a king, 9, and 5. This player has a straight. A straight on the first 3 bonus pays 6-1. Player has a $10 bet. Player wins $60 for their first 3 bonus. A straight beats a king 9. They get paid even money on their back 2 bets. And in this case, they have a straight which pays 1-1. Whether you draw into it or are dealt it, you still win the back bonus. So the player wins 1-1 extra on the back bonus. This player had an 8-9. They did not win their first 3 bonus. Now let's see if they drew into a straight or at least can beat the king. They did not. 9-8-3 does not beat king 9-5. They would lose both of their bets. The dealer would collect their cards. And once again, we would start a new hand. 3-card draw poker by Score Gaming.